Hey, it's Coach Jamila, and I am a transformation life coach. I serve women that are focused, determined go getters who struggle with feelings of unworthiness or being unlovable. So I decided to go live tonight and talk about something that so many of us struggle with, and that's really how to forgive ourselves, right? We know that when people do things to us, depending on the gravity or the degree of what was done, it can be a struggle to forgive them for doing something to us. But one of the main people that we usually struggle the most to forgive is ourselves. For really allowing ourselves to get into certain situations or relationships or things that didn't serve us. And so that's what I'm going to talk about tonight is how you can forgive yourself for some of these things that you've done. So, one of the things or a scenario that may resonate with you is maybe you were, I mentioned a relationship that didn't serve you. Maybe you feel like you were gullible, right? Maybe you feel like you had prepared, for all the sneaky tricks or things that a guy could say, but you feel like you fell for it all. Again, maybe this isn't the first time, you've fallen for this type of guy or you've found yourself in this type of situation or relationship. And so if that's the case, you might be struggling to forgive yourself because you feel like maybe you ignored some red flags, or even worse, maybe you actually endured or put up with some mistreatment. So one of the first things that you can do or you need to acknowledge in order to forgive yourself is that you didn't know what you didn't know. And so often we, especially when it comes to relationships, we have a pattern. And we can identify it if we find that the same type of, for example, same type of guy keeps showing up. We keep dating the same type of guy, just different hair color, different height, whatever, but he has the same negative qualities and traits. And that's because we're drawn to what's familiar. And so, it's always can be linked back, to something from childhood. It could have something to do with our relationship with our father and some negative things there that unfortunately became familiar to us. And so we continue to attract it into our life. So the point is if you were unfamiliar with what your pattern is and you weren't, aware or able to recognize that you were continually attracting or drawing this into your life, you didn't know what you didn't know, okay? So you got to forgive yourself, okay? The second thing you can do or acknowledge is that maybe you stayed too long in a relationship or a situation that you knew you shouldn't have been in, but you were afraid. Fear of the unknown, fear of being alone. Fear is why you allowed yourself to be in that situation. And so you have to forgive yourself because when you're afraid, you feel like, you know what, at least I know what's happening with this situation, even though it's not good, but I have no idea what's on the other side of it. And so maybe you stayed out of fear. Forgive yourself for that. We all do things out of fear, or we don't do things, that maybe sometimes we should because we're afraid of what people are going to think or say or do or whatever. And so maybe you did stay too long or put up with something for too long because you were afraid of losing that maybe job or relationship or whatever the case may be. But it was fear, as to why you didn't allow yourself to move on from that. Another thing that I want you to focus on and acknowledge so that you can really let it go for yourself, and this is a third point, is that we're only human. We're all imperfect, we all make mistakes, and we all make decisions and do things from our own pain and brokenness, okay? So none of us are getting it 100% right 100% of the time. We're all doing the very best we can with the information and the tools that we have available to us. Now, once we know better, we do better. But if you don't let it go and learn how to forgive yourself, then what you do is you fall into a pattern of beating yourself up, putting yourself down, and never allowing yourself to learn and grow from that situation and move forward, okay? Now, yes, some of us may have allowed ourselves to get into some situations that were just absolutely crazy, stupid, maybe even downright dangerous. But you know what? You're still here, right? You live to tell about it. So get the lesson, learn from it, and forgive yourself for it. Don't keep beating yourself up over it. Now, if you didn't get the lesson and you just want to keep making the same mistake over and over, now that's a totally different video, totally different story. But if you went through that and you got the lesson and you've resolved not to go down that road again, forgive yourself, okay? We all make mistakes, but we have to learn how to forgive ourselves. And sometimes it's easier to forgive other people, but sometimes we don't want to let it go when it comes to us. So let's forgive ourselves, okay? Now, if you yourself struggle, with these feelings of unworthiness or being lovable, and it's very hard for you to not only forgive yourself, but to really navigate through life in a way to where you are in relationships where it's mutually beneficial. You're not being taken advantage of, used, or if your feelings of unworthiness aren't working for you, in your career or your business or whatever, and you really want to get to the bottom of it, what is this? And work on it and get rid of it, then I invite you to book a free 2-hour powerful coaching call session with me. It's going to be a life-changing conversation. It's free. And like I said, I set aside 2 hours for you so that we can really talk and uncover at least one or two of these core beliefs that are floating around and holding you back from getting what it is that you want out of life, your relationships, whatever. So again, I invite you and I encourage you to go ahead and book that call. I'll put the details for that in the description for this video, or you can visit my website at coachjamila.com. So anywho, I want to thank you for watching live if you are, or if you're watching the replay. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment below with your thoughts, and I look forward to seeing you here. All right, take care. Have a good night.